Now, Nigerians worked all over that without home and abroad, reflected in the commemoration of this great day, Independence Day, 1st of October, 1960. And for us at 58, we believe there is so much to celebrate, even as we reflect on so many areas of interest as well. Now, while some Nigerians are just about the merriment, some others see it as a moment to reflect actually on the gains and the losses the nation has experienced. And for us also, as a nation, we believe it's a milestone. At least 2 years from being 60, I think we should be gathering momentum to having it in the big and bigger celebration. Now, from pre-independence to post-independence Nigeria, so much to say about this great country. Believe it or not, as the nation with the highest number of black people, we are proud to say Nigeria is truly a great nation and we can actually make it great. Now, history is replete, the history book is also replete with various events, developments, name it. Everyone believes there's something to actually celebrate on a day like this. Now, the challenge, however, is how we can continue to harness the gains of this independence and build a future that is both progressive and desirable for all, whether you are here today and for the future of this great nation. Now, as the celebration continues here on Nigeria Today, we hope to take a look at what life is for Nigeria at 58. So far, as we count our blessings, we also count our losses. Expectedly, I'm not alone. You get to meet my guest in a short while. You're watching Nigeria Today, and my name is Blessed Nabo. Welcome to the program. Now, did I remember to say Happy Independence Day to you? Oh, still intact. The Nigeria Today is looking at Nigeria at 58, and let me welcome to take a look with us on this beautiful day, Ambassador Ayo Adibu. He is a former Nigerian ambassador to Liberia. Welcome to the program.
Good evening.
Happy Independence Day to you, sir.
Thank you for having me. Happy Independence Day to you.
Also joining us on set is Mike Utah. He is a legal practitioner, also a public affairs analyst. Good to have you on the program, and happy Independence Day.
Happy Independence Day.
A day to be alive, a day to be joyous, and also a day to reflect on life at 58 for our fledgling nation and democracy. Also, Ambassador, let's share life at 58. That is not a small number in the life of any man, any being at all. How much more? A nation filled with great people, great resources, and also looked upon by the Committee of Nations as one with potential. How would you describe us?
Of course, yes. If you are talking of life at 58 regarding the human being, it's a very, very advanced stage of start thinking where does it go from there. Because there are lots of things he's supposed to have done at 58. You must, by that time, be well established, and the focus is now, you'll be waiting for retirement shortly. Because we retire at 60 here in the civil service. So, but for a nation, 58 is just like a drop in the bucket. You have seen many nations 200 years old. Liberia is 171 years old. But you can still see what is happening there. So, age itself should not be the parameter for measuring success or failure of even human being, not to talk of a nation. But so far, so good, we have done well. But there are drawbacks. For those of us who were born before independence, who have seen the immediate post-independence, of which I'm in that group, things were very nice. We have a parliamentary system of government. The states have some share of various functions. Nigeria was functioning. There are lots of investments in Nigeria. I remember when I was in the university in the 70s, foreigners from America, lecturers, they were coming to the University of Lagos, and IABU, all those, our foremost university, Ibadan, center of learning. But will you say, if you go to those universities today, you'll be singing the same story in education? Yeah, we made advancement in education, but now there are lots of problems. So I don't think that is too good a record for Nigeria to flash. Two, in times of nation building, we have had a lot of trials and errors. We have fought a civil war. 67 to 70. We survived that civil war. And I pray we never fight any war again. Amen. But the greatest war you can have in a federal polity or in a heterogeneous society, that's what we call centrifugal and centripetal forces.
Break it down.
When you are talking of centripetal forces, that is the forces that bring unity in diversity or in differences. That is what we want. But the situation we have today, we have more centrifugal forces that forces pulling apart. But that notwithstanding, we need to thank God and celebrate that so far, no matter what it is, there are countries, if you have been to countries where there are conflict, Nigeria should have everything to celebrate, because they say in all things, give thanks unto God.
All right,
that is what I will say for now.
All right, thank you very much, Ambassador. Mike, I know, yes, perhaps just like Ambassador, you too, you fall into the category of those that saw when it's happened. I don't know how old you are. But really, having taken on the path that we wanted freedom, and it was a common front we forged ahead, or at least for the 4 years that took on that particular sacrifice. Today, can we say we are more united than they were those days, or what exactly has transpired for us in terms of unifying force like they did for independence?
Well, not necessarily. Maybe I should start by once again saying happy independence to all Nigerians and viewers out there. And then to follow up quickly by saying at 58, a lot is expected. But these expectations must be put in context in terms of the resources that are available to you, to meet up with some of these expectations that one would ordinarily have of any nation or any individual at 58. You talk about unity. We attained independence in 1960. 6 years down the road, we had the famous coup, and that, you know, basically sowed the seeds of disunity in our country, and we have been on a downward spiral since then. But then there are also a couple of things that have happened, particularly within the last few years, that have pushed us almost to the brink of the precipice. But we are still one nation.
How it work? That's wonder. I keep wondering.
We are still one nation, you know. And I love the words that are used by the framers of the 1999 Constitution. In the preamble, we're described as an indivisible and indissoluble nation under God. This is how the Constitution describes us. And I think it is important for all Nigerians to familiarize themselves with this description. Mr. President also made allusions to it. You know, I found the first few lines of his address to Nigerians this morning quite profound, you know. He says, we celebrate today because, you know, we attain one of the most cherished desires of humanity, the desire to be free, you know. And I think unity, disunity, Boko Haram, backward economy, and all of that, the truth is that we are a free nation, we are a sovereign nation, and for me, there is a cause for celebration, you know. There is no nation that does not have the kind of challenges that we have. And I think it is for us as a people to agree that having come this far, we must reflect, like you pointed out, Blessing, on these challenges and see how, as individuals and as organizations, we can, you know, predispose our country along the path that we desire as Nigerians.
Now, let's take a look at already you started off the president's speech. Yes, mixed reaction for so many people. What's your take on that, Ambassador Adigun? What are your high points?
Yeah, Mr. President, during his speech this morning, touched on virtually all the issues. Thank Nigerians for shaping through. We have this question of the challenges facing the nation. Talks of this Boko Haram challenge, and that so far, for the past 3 years, his government has been seized trying to degrade that Boko Haram, and they have succeeded in degrading them, and that although much needs to be done, because their desire is to possess land, to divide Nigeria, but that they will not succeed. They kidnap a lot of schoolgirls. Some of them are returned, some are still there. Then he said, in all this, we have to thank our armed forces, because they've done a lot of, even during a period, they don't even have enough arms and ammunition to face the challenge of Boko Haram and their terrorist activities. But now that he will do a lot for them as a commander-in-chief to ensure that they continue to perform to checkmate Boko Haram. So there's no doubt that in times of, we know there was a time everybody literally was on edge in Abuja. They were even coming, they were throwing bombs here and there, they were running at skater. But so far, there is somehow calm. Although the problems are there, the various deluge of crisis they leave behind in the Northeast challenge, humanitarian catastrophe. So far, we are happy that with the coming of President Buhari, you know, he went to the Western world, the G7, Europe. They promised assistance in types of farm. America, even that hitherto has refused to sell the release, and that has, in fact, quickened action on this front. Then there are aspects of terrorists, domestic terrorists, these herdsmen versus these transhumans.
Farmers.
Transhumans has been a problem in the whole sub-region, in the savannah belt all along. There was even a time there was a combination of cooperation among the countries in that belt. I was in the Republic of Benin then. But so far, he also talked about some hoodlums who seeks this opportunity of these herdsmen farmers to create mayhem and start killing people. We heard about a lot of unsettling killings in Benue. We're still having problems in Jos and other things which created an unsettling domestic problem. He said those people should go and watch it. Is going to make sure they don't succeed in causing mayhem. He also talked about dealing with question of economy. He went into the economy. You know, you start with security, the economic situation he met on the ground, especially the issue of corruption, which a lot of money went into a lot of hands. And he dealt with that. Although in that he's having a big fight, because, like he said, corruption will not say it will fight back.
Certainly.
And he has succeeded in fighting some, and then there are cooperation from countries where they send this loot. Some are returning, and that it will make sure once those countries where they keep their loot are not cooperating return, then the less they will not think of corruption. But I believe there is a need for change of strategy, rather than, because they say prevention is better than cure.
Okay,
so then he also talked about diversify the economy away from oil, which has been the bane of our problem. And now people are now going to agriculture, manufacturing, and what it needs that our products should be able to sell abroad. Nigeria should not begin to be a consumer nation or a consumer economy. They should begin to sell. They should be. We should have a balance of trade with our other countries. So all these things
definitely
we discuss about.
Okay, Ambassador Adegun, when we'll return from this break, because we're going on a break now. Yes, we spoke to some Nigerians earlier, and we want to find out what they think of Nigeria at 58. Mike will take a look at some of those areas of the rule of law, other areas that will actually thrive in making that sacrifice that is needed for nations to succeed. You're watching Nigeria Today, and we're taking a look at Nigeria at 58. We'll be right back after this time out.
Within these 58 years of Nigeria, we have achieved a lot, and we still have more to achieve.
I can see it's a clear vision that Nigeria will be good.
We celebrate. We thank God for everything. We thank God for our life. We thank God that everything is moved very well.
Actually, the journey so far, since I was giving birth to, I've been in Nigeria, and I think we've not really achieved what we ought to achieve, and we're adding another 8 hours. So I just pray as we are going into another phase of life, I pray that God will help our leaders and for them to make a better place for us, we as the students.
Yeah, of course, Nigeria is something so much to celebrate. As a country, God has brought us this far, so we have to celebrate our nation. We have to celebrate the independence.
I've always been optimistic about what I want to see about independence. Well, for me, we've not really gone far talking about development in Nigeria, but I hope that the country will get better, and I look forward to a more prosperous nation where we meet up to the target of where we're supposed to be.
Welcome back. I'm sure those are reflections from the people across the nation, even as they celebrate today. Let's get back to our discussion now. The second stanza for the national anthem, not the one, Ambassador, you remember the other one people had? You remember the other anthem people had that time?
Yeah, they have modified it.
The one they have modified.
Yeah.
So I'm talking about this present.
Okay.
Say, oh God of creation, that's the second stanza. Direct and noble cause. Guide our leaders, right? Help the youth the truth to know in love and honesty, and so on. Now, we've actually prepared our mind that this is the nation we want. Freed ourselves from the colonialists. Now, how much sacrifice do we need to put in? We've experimented with different aspects. This is the Fourth Republic. This is democratic practice. Of course, we've had the military rule. How much of sacrifice do you think, or do you see the people willing to give even for us to sustain this independence?
I think nothing should be too much to give in sacrifice for Nigeria. And if you put this question to most people, the response usually is, well, what has Nigeria given me that I should give in to Nigeria? But I think it should be the other way around. We must sacrifice because, like you rightly pointed out, a good number of people, the people we euphemistically refer to as our founding fathers, gave in a lot, including the supreme sacrifice for us to be where we are today. And we must also then contribute our quota to see that Nigeria not only survives, but moves in the direction in which our founding fathers had intended, you know. And again, Ambassador has done some kind of beautiful analysis of the president's address, and I just wanted to point out some values that also came out from that speech.
Yes,
he described Nigerians as ambitious people, you know, people who are self-confident and people who are optimistic,
Which we are truly.
and I mean, these are values. Even if we were not, I mean, I think the challenge the president is throwing to us is these are values that we must take up, we must pick up as Nigerians and run with. But truly, I mean, Blessing, go to any part of the world, really any part of the world, and see a Nigerian. You can see, you will identify a Nigerian by the self-confidence that he exudes, you know. And I have seen quite a number of Nigerians outside of this country, and the president is spot on when he refers to us as self-confident people. And I think the next thing is for us to be very optimistic. The times might be hard. It might seem as if, you know, nothing is going right and all of that. We must be optimistic, and most importantly, we must be ambitious about the kind of nation that we want. So, back to your question about sacrifice, we must all be ready to sacrifice for the greater good of this country. And the first sacrifice we must put in place is to ensure that we participate in electing leaders that will take us to that very next level. It's not about, I cannot go and spend 3 hours or 3 days or 4 days to get a PVC and all of that. And then when you get a PVC, you don't go to collect it and all of that because you think it is not important. But this is the beginning of the sacrifices that we must make to make this nation great. It's not enough to just sit back and castigate government, castigate people in power, castigate people in authority. We must be ready as Nigerians to also make our modest contribution to see that this nation goes in the direction in which we want. And the starting point really is leadership recruitment. And you cannot do leadership recruitment without your permanent voter's card. And it's not enough. Once you have a permanent voter's card, the next thing is to go right there, cast your vote. Elections are around the corner. And this is my challenge to Nigerians.
All right. So I'm glad you even fell back to that particular aspect as we elect leaders. Ambassador, youth were at the forefront of getting us that freedom. Youth also today are the vanguard of giving that new struggle to redirect the conversation, just as it is happening across the world. Across the world, how should we begin to get into that path that will lift us to the next level? We're all looking forward to.
What I said earlier, I pity the youth of today.
Why, Ambassador?
In Nigeria, because some of them, they don't have the opportunities. The jobs are not there. So you can imagine a graduate after you started walking around. You cannot command support. They are disenchanted. Let us be realistic. So there must be a youth empowerment. So the empowerment program the government is doing must be doubled up. They must do it in a very, because we are talking of the problem we have. We don't have institutions. I mean, we have institutions, we don't have strong institutions. In the democracies where there are good government and governance, strong institution is the most important thing, not strong men.
So how do we begin to build strong institutions?
We will start giving that confidence to our youth, participating, good governance. There must be question of fair play. Corruption must be checked. If you see then there must be, you must check corruption, you must check impunity at all levels of government. You see, a politician or a political class must not see themselves as above the law. The ordinary people steals a goat, is sent to prison. So the strong institutions is our bane. We need to, because let me tell you, if you look at the countries that we started this journey of independence together, don't let us be talking, because Nigeria likes to compare themselves with America and Britain and Europe. You still have your problem, even if you are developed. Their own is not development challenge, it's a continuous issue. Malaysia is there. Mahathir started in 1970, the Asia Tigers. They were even wanting to come to Nigeria. I served in Malaysia for almost 5 years. I know what I'm talking during Mahathir. Mahathir is back there now. They have anti-corruption institution, but you don't see them shouting around. Effort is put at educating people, checkmating corruption, paying them civil servants, take-home pay, creating poverty reduction strategy. The Mahathir built houses for the Malays. He brought the Chinese, gave them nationality. They reached out, Japanese reached out, do his own intervention. And what you see in Malaysia today is a model. They have trade, they have everything.
So we must begin to redirect. Strong institution, what else? Because he just made mention of checks, law, respect for rule of law, and even other aspects of institution.
Listen, excuse me, we must pay attention to development around us. Otherwise, we might miss out on certain fine points that ought to be celebrated.
What kind of development?
I say this precisely with regard to the issue of strong institutions. Recently, we had the issue with the former Minister of Finance that had to leave office because of something relating to NYSC. Now, the conduct of NYSC in that entire saga left a lot to be desired, and Nigerians cried out. Soon thereafter, another issue arose concerning the Minister of Communications. Have you noted the response of NYSC with regard to a member of the Federal Executive Council? Oga, this is not the law. This is what NYSC said. This is an institution that before now would probably say, well, we're working on it, give us, something that will kind of push the issue away.
Institutions now should be
That's the kind of thing Nigerians want to see. Let us have institutions that will look you in the face, no matter how tall or short you are, and tell you the truth. Let them discharge their responsibilities, not because Mr. President is looking at us, or the governor, or the local government chairman, or whatever.
Life for everyone.
If there is an institution that is charged with the responsibility, discharge the responsibility in spite of whoever the appointing authority is, or whatever repercussions that might come to you. We cannot overemphasize the importance of institutions in this country. And again, it falls back on the issue of leadership recruitment, which I mentioned before. It is extremely very important. If we get leadership right in this country, I think every other thing will fall in place. This is my belief.
All right, gentlemen, before we wrap up the conversation, they say people fail when people don't get it right when they fail to learn from history. What more has history taught us that we're still failing to actually hold on to, Ambassador?
Well, history, when you look at, I don't know, don't put me to philosophizing, but there is in history that those who make peaceful change impossible, make violent change inevitable. God forbid this in Nigeria. We saw this in apartheid South Africa. We saw this when you oppress people. What I want is for Nigeria, or new government, to put in place a strategic poverty reduction strategy that will be zeroing on the less privileged. The underprivileged. They should also have plans for aged people, retired people, aged people. 2, they must also use most of these funds from looted funds as a funded, channel it to poverty reduction strategy, youth employment, youth development, infrastructure. Once you do that, of course, you must also have maintenance culture, which is lacking in Nigeria. That's another one. So on the basis of this, all the money that has been returned, Nigerians want to see that it is channels toward this poverty reduction and all this plan, youth employment, youth development. And you see how the youth who are the leaders of tomorrow will jump to it. I think that is necessary.
We're looking forward to jumping on that. Yes. From our Nigerian ambassador to Liberia, Ambassador Ayodigo, thank you very much for coming on the program. We appreciate your insight. We also like to thank Michael Sarr, legal practitioner and public affairs analyst. Thank you very much for coming on the program. Happy Independence Day to us all again, and we wish us well. So by 60, we'll be talking in leaves and bands. I also like to appreciate you for joining us on the program today. Tomorrow is another time to be with us for another fresh edition. That's at 7:30 in the evening. My name is Blessing Abu. Enjoy the rest of the day.